Welcome, everybody. The coffee and beers are poured, the little ones are asleep, and this is New Dad Gaming, a show about fatherhood, gaming, and new fathers trying to figure out their gaming lives. My name is Trevor, and I have a 4-month-old.
My name is Gavin. I have a 2-month-old.
I'm Jeff. I have a 2.5-year-old and a 5-year-old.
Every week he leads that baby count. Gavin, we gotta catch up.
Yep.
More babies. So this
I don't
week I've
know if
adopted
there's a
6 kids, and I've officially taken the lead.
You guys are
big
getting
red pit.
twins.
Oh, so many babies. So, yeah, Gavin, start with you. How was your week in fatherhood and gaming?
Fatherhood was exciting. We went on our first big family trip because it was Thanksgiving weekend. To you listeners who are not Canadian, it was Thanksgiving weekend. So yeah, did a nice big road trip. Saw lots of family, 2 separate dinners. It was good, but yeah, it was definitely tiring at the end. But no, she was a good little traveler, so that was a lot of fun. And as far as gaming and stuff's been going, it's been playing a little bit here and there. I've been enjoying working my way through the 2 Metro games. I find that game's been a good little, uh, nice little chapters that I can usually squeeze in here and there quite easily. But yeah, but I haven't been gaming a whole bunch the last few days because work's been quite busy. So between just wanting to be a active dad and also trying to make sure that jobs are getting done so I can buy diapers. Yeah, so all in all, it's been good though. I've been able to get a little bit in here and there at least to end a nice day.
How's your baby with the family pass around? So as an aunt and uncle want
Oh,
to hold her, you just toss them off. How does she handle it?
She's pretty chill, but then when she's like, I don't want to anymore, she'll do a quick little cry and then she'll get handed off to either myself or my wife, and then she usually quiets up pretty quick, which is nice. I'm happy that I can calm her down as efficiently as mommy, so that's good. It's not just the mommy show until it's time to feed, and then she doesn't want anything to do with me. But no, she's a pretty good sport about it. We're also kind of like we try to like feel her out as far as like, okay, is she in the right mood to be like, hot potatoed, or can we like maybe just tell those ants they might have to just wait a little while before we pass her around? I'm not sure how your little one is there, Trevor. What about you, Jeff? Were yours pass around or?
mine will go with anyone right now with food.
Oh
So
yeah.
this weekend was great.
Like to the
Going
point of being a hazard? Like go with anybody with food? Or
right now, it just takes some stress off. So sure, go.
Go.
Yeah, no, they're fine with going anywhere pretty much. Especially at this age, they just want to be entertained. So
Give
long
them like a
weekends.
cup of crayons and like a turkey leg and just send them off into the
Yeah,
wild.
crayons and a snack. It's
Yeah,
just the
there
food.
you go.
Just leave them out. Not a problem.
Nice. So how was your week otherwise with gaming in the family?
It was good. Again, Thanksgiving weekend, so it was a lot of work, really. Usually the long holidays before kids would be great, extra day to game, but now you have to host and play dad and stuff. So we actually had a third kid over. Friends
Ooh.
had a family emergency, so we had three. I will never have three. It was a lot to handle.
It's like the baby shows up, you're like, maybe we could do three. And it's like fast forward to an hour later, like we're never
Yeah.
doing
Not
three.
gonna do
Yeah, then
it.
you fast forward to Tuesday morning where he's booking a vasectomy.
Yeah, exactly. Sorry guys, I'm on ice right now. Just no, we'll not have three. But it was a good weekend. It was lots of family, lots of food. Gaming wise, it was a new month of PS Plus, so I got Super Meat Boy on there. Tried that. That's stressful, but still fun
Yeah.
to pick up and
Did you
play.
snap your controller? Did you
Oh,
hear it
so
like crunch
close.
a bit?
So hard to do. But it was fun. It was good.
Cool. I've been wanting to try that one out. I have PlayStation, but I've never really invested in PlayStation Plus because I find my gaming quite sporadic right now, especially with work the way it is. So it's like I see Super Meat Boy. I'm like, well, if I had that nice little
Yeah.
gold plus sign, I could just download it and enjoy it. But I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, but I don't know. I think when I get to a stage closer to you where your kids have a little bit more of a bedtime. And right now, it's actually going quite well. Lindsay's been fantastic with getting the little one into a routine. So one day I might it might be worth the investment, because right now it would just that investment would just wither away into the ether.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you'd find Super Meat Boy actually is pretty good for you, and even with it runs in pretty low specs. If you buy it for PC, and for as far as Steam sales, like it's popular enough and it's old enough, you're gonna find that thing for like $1. Like
Yeah,
very
it's always been on
commonly.
my radar. I think it was actually even on my wish list for a bit for Steam, but
Yeah, keep an eye because like
yeah.
it pops up on sales quite often. As far as like that quick little snaps of games, especially just like 5 minute little bits, like you can definitely get that in. Like try to get through a couple levels and move on.
And the controls are insanely well done. Like so good.
Good.
So
Yeah, there was one that I played similar fashion called They Bleed Pixels, and it was developed by a Toronto studio. I think it was Spooky Squid Games, I think. But yeah, it was this kind of Lovecraftian platformer, but the same sort of deal where it's like you're gonna die a lot, and sort of this retro-esque graphics, and it was pretty cool. And a buddy of mine actually did the soundtrack for it, and it was pretty fun. But yeah, those types of games I like them, but then sometimes I just get they rile me up.
Yeah.
I can't relax playing them like I can other games.
Yeah, so I can say from my side for the gaming, an interesting one is I played the Star Wars Battlefront beta.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Yeah, I got in on part of that, and that is surprising. Like it's for a game to live up to expectations like that. I mean, it's early days yet. Like we'll see where they go with it. But as far as getting in, feeling a sense of scale, feeling like it is Star Wars, the menus and the graphics and how beautiful everything was. Going in, you have relatively high expectations, and to have them met by a property like this was really kind of astounding. Like it's really kind of like an awestruck moment as you're playing through some of them. Like how did you nail this so well?
Yeah, well, I've always found the Battlefield games very atmospheric for Foley work and visuals. Like they were able to capture the heat of battle very well. So I knew as soon as they got a hold of the Star Wars property and were able to get their sound effect library and all of that, and then you add in just the ability of having the scale of like the AT-ATs and the snow speeders and stuff. It just adds to it.
Yeah, so it was stunning. Although there's a couple of moments of there's one mode where it's you and friends and you take on waves of
Okay.
enemies, blast like just awesome time. Like and I got a couple buddies who like the game, so it's going to be I think in the future a great mode. Like just so much fun. There's another mode that's just more classic team versus team, player versus player. And that not so much because it seems like there's a bit of a reward system for levels. So if you're a higher level, it's kind of easier to kill people, or you have a better loadout, whatever it is. And I just died so often. And let's set the table. I'm not that good at video games. Yeah, imagine that. I just I don't want it to come off as sour grapes. So I've commonly, even when I'm playing, it's just like, you know what, I'm not going to be top of the list. I'm going to die a bunch. That's fine. But there's a very distinct difference between, I'm just not, clearly I don't know what I'm doing, and I got the better of me, and you get a couple shots in, still fun. And there's another one where it's like step, step, dead. Step, 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 dead. Step, step, and you're like, this is just an exercise of futility. There's no benefit to me playing this at this point. And a couple of the maps, it definitely was that. I think they'll do a little bit better job of pairing in the future as far as matching folks up, but if they don't, like I think again that kind of becomes a place where I don't know as a dad, this is a game I'm going to dedicate so much time into that A, I'm talented enough, and B, I'm leveled enough to get a good experience into it. And it's a bit, it's a bit of like just having lost an edge from player versus player.
Did you hear about the season's pass? It's about $50 plus the game. So you're spending like 110. Well, if you buy a PS4 version, I don't know about a Steam version, but
yeah, it'll come
I don't know.
Yeah, that is a pricey way to get killed constantly.
If they include maps in those, they're just going to separate their audience. Anyway, not to like burst your bubble.
Yeah,
you popped it good.
Yeah, kind of depends. I think there's hopefully enough meat there. I think again, if they do matchmaking well, like I'll be able to get in and have a pretty good time with some of the maps, like the player versus player, the wave stuff. I have a couple buddies who have it, so I think that will be enough meat that I'll enjoy it. And again, like it's such an awe-inspiring experience as far as how well they've nailed it. That it looks good, but there's just some of those warning flags that as I'm coming into it as a dad, it's like,
Yeah.
yeah, you got worried about a few of these things. I'm not sure you're going to be able to really target me as far like maybe I'm not really one of their targets, obviously, but maybe you're not really going to be able to offer me the experience that I would get
Yeah.
or would want, I should say. And otherwise, a bit of Hearthstone, kind of classic stuff, but sneak that in there as always. Um, yeah, so
Every week.
yeah, funny. The only other great experience. So actually, we traveled as well. Generally, everything went well. Business related, I came up to Ottawa recently. So that's from Toronto. That's a 4.5 hour drive, which that's a 4 month old, and it was so dicey as far as like what is this going to be like. We've done it once. He had just the worst night of his life, and it took us something in the neighborhood of about 6 to 7 hours to drive
Oh,
up. We had to keep stopping and helping him out.
Oh,
Yeah, this time he slept the entire time, and we made it
really?
in
Oh,
like
that's good.
4 hours and 10 minutes. It was beautiful.
that's
So
amazing.
like there's a time when he was sleeping, my wife was sleeping. We're a little bit low on gas, and we're passing what is ultimately the last like en route last gas station before Ottawa. Before I'd have to make kind of the final stretch, and it's so tempting to get in because like I need a break, we need gas, but they're sleeping.
Gun it.
Like
Let's go.
just
Let's go.
it's just like grabbing the wheel and like,
They're on
nope, we're
fumes.
going to Ottawa. We're gonna make
Yeah.
it. We're doing this.
Get out and push. We're just doing
Yeah.
this, not
I'll
stopping.
play doing this home if I
Oh,
have to.
oh, but it was beautiful. Probably a bit of the trick is really like doing these trips at night. I remember my parents. I don't know
Mm.
if you guys had similar experiences. We drove a lot at night for big ones, just so that the kids would knock off and.
My kids stay up. It doesn't matter. It sucks.
Oh
It
no.
sucks. If they stay up, they watch the moon. They're like, "Look, the moon's out." I'm like, "You should really be asleep. It's 11 o'clock." Nope.
But why would I sleep when the moon's out?
Exactly. It's too interesting.
Too
All right.
awesome.
Woo.
Burst your bubble again.
Thanks, buddy.
Kidding.
I'm having a terrible night. This is like. the, yeah,
Games are
instantly.
too expensive and your kids aren't going to sleep.
The only thing I'd kind of offer up to the group before we kind of get into a topic is I'm finding. So we're 4 months, probably about 4.5 months with a kid. I'm finding this to be a pretty difficult time in fatherhood where we've survived 4 months. Like we did it, right? We got through what I'd say some of the scariest stuff of the newborn. Everything he's doing right now is so fascinating and so funny, like laughing, playing. He's starting to realize things, new sounds, like that. That's astounding, amazing. But it's kind of the realization, like, so we've come so far. It's been 4 grueling months, like exhausted, tiring, like it really difficult. Just part and parcel of how this goes. But now I'm like looking out into the future, and it's like there's no real, no real break in sight necessarily. Like at the best case, in 2 months he might start sleeping through the night, and that's the best case. In the worst case, it might be another 8 months before he starts sleeping through the night. So we've
No, you'll
arrived.
be good. You'll be good.
Yeah,
Like,
you should be
no.
fine.
Man, I
Solid
hope
foods.
so.
Once you get solid foods, they're out like lights.
Well, that's the thing is the solid food takes longer to digest, so they're not getting woken up by
Yeah.
hunger. So once you get them on like a cereal before bed, like that was the one thing that Lindsay's Oma was mentioning that, she would give Lindsay's mom cereal before bed, and that would just put her down for the count. It was just like a little bit of like rice pablum, but it was just that little bit of solid food for their tummy to work through that really sealed the deal.
Mm.
Yeah, we did like when you hit the solid food stage, you just do anything you're eating, really. So like steaks, um, if you're just comfortable with them eating like finger
Just give them
foods.
like just a lump of steak right
It's
before
awesome.
bed.
They just suck the juice out and like they're out like lights later.
Wow.
I'm out like a light.
So you're telling me your kids are beef vampires?
Oh yeah, easy.
They just
It costs a lot of money later on.
yeah.
Look over, yeah, the piece of beef is just like dust. It's like, how did you
Yeah.
get that much moisture? What is this?
I cooked it medium rare.
Yeah, so obviously, you hope for the best, but like, more commonly I find here the horror stories and, a guy at work didn't get his kid to go down until they were like a year and 4 months. I think that's a bit of an edge case. Like that's particularly bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like we've come all this way.
You always
And
hear the rough stories though. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing is that people who have like who are doing fine with putting their kid to bed, they tend not to talk about it because they don't want to jinx it.
Yeah.
So like you don't hear the oh things are going fine. Like it's because like it's not as exciting of a thing to talk about. You know, usually it's the squeaky wheel, so to speak. And I think when people go through really rough stuff, they need that sense of solidarity and they need to get it off their chest. But there's a lot of cases out there where things go just fine, and the kid might be up a lot one night, but then they'll sleep a good chunk the other night, and eventually you find a rhythm, and there's like this a light at the end of the tunnel, but you just don't hear about it that very often because it's always people like, oh, my kid didn't sleep through the night till they were 15, and
Yeah.
yeah,
like
nursing until they're 15,
yeah,
it was bad.
it was rough. It was rough.
Yeah.
But
So yeah. So I remain hopeful. It's just I think I was kind of I've been looking at it. I think not retrospectively or introspectively, some particular word, but as catching and sitting and thinking of it in a moment of time. As far as like we've come so far, it's already been 4.5 months, which is wild to think about. And it's so amazing to watch them, but like yeah, like next, it's a tiring point. I'm finally just getting past this one. And it's
yeah,
again like at least the stuff he's doing is so energetic or energizing to me to see like him acting and starting to get that personality and the stuff he's doing. Like it's so awesome to see. But yeah, you look sometimes into the future. But what's kind of like that next helpful phase, and when is it? When would that come around? We'll see.
well, apparently there was a study that too much sleep is just as bad for you as not enough. So
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Yeah.
there you
Oh,
go.
great. I'm getting healthy. Well,
You're,
that'll
you're
help.
yeah.
So I'm gonna be up there. It's 4:30 in the morning, and I'm rocking, desperately trying to get him to sleep. I'm like, well, getting healthy. At least I'm getting healthy.
Hey man, all that time on the yoga ball.
Oh, man, my core, my
Like this deal.
fantastic core. It's so strong. Wonderful. So we mentioned they bleed pixels. We talked a little bit about Super Meat Boy. As a nice segue, both of those exist in a very long queue of Steam games that I currently have. Probably
Mm.
sitting in what I think at this point over the course of my entire history behind games, something in the neighborhood of a hundred or so. Just big packs of them.
Yep.
The dreaded backlog, the dreaded queue of games. It's before we had kids. It was something we were worried about as far as so many great games coming out, so much to play, so much to experience. How will I ever experience them all? And now our time has been reduced so thoroughly, like possibly down to like the single digit percentiles as far as what we can dedicate to games. What is to do about the backlog? Is it sacrifices, just signing, deleting things so you don't even have to see the fact that you're never going to play them, playing less thoroughly for games, not finishing them, being happy? Yeah, the gentlemen as now fathers, what are you going to do about your backlog and games you've missed?
Impulse control when it comes to sales.
Good
Uh,
luck.
What
not
else?
not
What
not
else can you do,
adding
Gavin? No
not
kidding.
not adding to the problem, I think is the first step. No, I think
But
like
it's
the
so
one
cheap.
I know.
It's only $1, man.
I think that's the thing too is the factor of you have to be able to just like let it go kind of thing where you see the game and it's like, oh, I'm gonna get it, and it's like $2. Okay, fine, I'll get it. $2. If you spend as much time with that game as you do with a cup of coffee, you've made your money. Like you've
Yeah.
made your money work. I think being less concerned about completing a game and seeing it through to the end, it's like, well, if you didn't invest that much financially in the game, you shouldn't feel an obligation to invest that much as far as time. So if you do just buy a game for a couple bucks and you play it for even an afternoon, then it's like, okay, well, the amount of money I put into this thing and the amount of enjoyment I got out of it, it's still a better bang for my buck than going out to the movies, as far as dollars per hour. So I think being less precious about it and letting the backlog will exist. It's just part of life, and you're just like, yeah, it's like any other. There's always something to do around the house. There's always like a fixer-upper job, like, oh, I should really repaint that piece of furniture, or I should fix that thing and fix that thing. But unless it's, an imposing danger on your family this immediate second, some of those things just get kind of, well, that's another Sunday to work on that kind of thing. So I think the same could be said for game backlogs. Just, they're no big deal. They exist. You get to it when you get to it. If you don't get to it, at least you only spent a couple bucks. If the game backlog is a bunch of like Star Wars Battlefront, then you got a problem because you've invested thousands of dollars.
Super season pass, like $10,000.
The Omega Pass. You just own everything ever published from here until your death.
See, I had Steam killed me when I had a machine that could run anything at the time. Steam sales killed me when the Humble Bundle came out. That would kill me because you get 6 or 7
Well,
at a
and also
time.
there's charity involved with Humble Bundles. Like you're like, I'm doing a good thing here.
Exactly.
Like,
I'm
yes, you
donating
are,
to
but
charity.
why don't you just donate to charity? Why do you have to buy a bunch of games you're not going to play at the same time? Like, but I'm doing something good.
Exactly.
It's not
So
about me, it's about the children. Like
about the
Yeah.
children, which now I have.
Would somebody please think of the children? Get these games.
But my PC rig died a while ago, and we were starting to think about kids, so I couldn't get another gaming PC. So I had to stick with my Mac and for my business, and then get a console. So Steam left me, and along with a lot of games that I just had to kind of set aside, but I wasn't exposed to new ones, right? I couldn't do it. I've bought one game that I said I will play when I do get a PC, and I bought it. But other than that, I haven't. Like, the Steam sales are crazy, and you can get 15 games in a day and not bat an eye. With the console, you really have to think. They're expensive now, especially in Canada. You have to really think about it and wait. I'm currently waiting for a couple sales, and the only backlog I get are PS Plus games, so they're already free, so I don't have any real attachment to them, and I can kind of attack those when I can. The bigger games I have that I just haven't finished, so like Dragon Age, I have to go back and I don't know. I might just give up on that one. It's just sometimes you make a call, but Steam used to kill me. I would say avoid Steam with a backlog, or you have like a chip like you earn every month, kind of like a you've done 1 month without a Steam purchase. Here's your chip. You gotta have some will.
Yeah, just like I guess the thing that I almost worry about is I think I'm slowly starting to get off that curve. I think I very much was in the mode of just acquiring like I used to acquire games, especially like a Humble Bundle, like you said, just like the sales are just absurd. Like $5 and you're getting like 10 decent sized titles. And and some of it's been great because, for instance, I got the last 2 Batman games I picked up on such sales, probably about $5 a piece with a decent amount of DLC, and played a decent amount of both of those. Even the amount that I've currently played Origins, I'd be happy with, even if I didn't finish it. Like that's been so relatively rewarding for me. But I see some stuff like Bioshock Infinite, which was heralded as a beautiful game. Like the reviews of it, and not just this is fun, you kill people, great. It's when they're talking about the arts and the aesthetic and how what a movement it was, the music. Like it in some ways feels like you're missing what was like a classic film, right? It's like this is the movie to see, and it's really defining as far as the gaming part. And then now it's $5, so it's inside of it. So I'm having a bit of a struggle where it's like one thing where I've kind of choked on, for instance, would be maybe like Rocket League, which I picked up on. I was able to get a pretty decent sale on it, picked it up, have not installed it, have not played it.
Oh,
I know, and I keep thinking like, and I'm worried. I'm now worried I'm just gonna miss it. Like by the time I get in, let's do this, and just crickets. No one else plays the game.
Well, I think that's the thing too. Is like there are games where, like with Bioshock, where you know that it's something worth experiencing, so you pick it up, but it's a single player experience, so it's not really time sensitive. and at some point you get a chance to explore that world. And a lot of times with those games where it is like this is a world worth exploring, however, you will explore the most necessary components to be enveloped in that atmosphere and that mythos in the first 20, 30 minutes. So you don't have to really worry. It's not as big of a commitment. But then you have things like Rocket League where it is time sensitive in regards to popularity, and it might, hold the test of time. But it could also be a thing where something else will come out, like I don't know, trampoline juggling, and you'll go to that game, and everybody else will start playing that, and then you'll be left in the Rocket League servers. So yeah, it's a time-sensitive thing, so you can kind of judge accordingly. But I think picking up a game for $5 because like it's been well reviewed and it's a world you want to explore. Like I have Darksiders on my Steam account because the artists who worked on it and the voice actors who were in it and just everything I've read about the game, I hear it's got some really really quality components to it. Apparently the sequel was even better, but I'm like, yeah, I like to work things through, and sometimes I like the original, even warts and all. But I haven't even installed it yet. It's been in my library for probably over a year, and I got it for like $5. But it's like finding a book in a used bookstore, and you're like, oh, I've always wanted to read that book, and it's only $5. Yeah, I'll pick it up. And then it sits on your shelf for like a decade, and then you finally crack into it, and you're like, oh, I'm so happy I picked it up way years back. Like, thank you, past me. Future me's happy. So.
I hope that's the case. There's just some that are really daunting. So I think, Bioshock Infinite, relatively contained. I think like you'd be able to chip away at it. Baby goes to sleep, you get your hour, 2 hours, whatever it is, chip it away.
And you get, like, unless you're connected to the narrative, you get everything you need from it pretty quick. And then it's just more of that world.
And I think about, but for instance, as an embarrassing gaming confession, I've never played Fallout 3.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
All right, I'm done.
Really?
I never liked Fallout. I know Gavin's gonna kill me. I never liked Fallout.
Okay.
Hey?
Well, it's just like my brother raves about, like, I hear people raving about it, and even if I got into it, didn't like it, fine. But to have never even touched it, but then I look at it.
Yeah.
I look at that in my queue,
Get out of here.
right? And it's like baby went to sleep. I have maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour, whatever he's gonna stay for. And it's like, do I dare even like start to get into that one and everything else coming along? Or is it better to start getting into the time sensitive Rocket League stuff? And in some senses now it feels like I've missed it. Like I don't know that Fallout 3 would ever be an option for me. And I might have missed it now, which worried me even for future games, as far as I've missed that experience now. Other ones are going to come out, and with new family responsibilities, it's just I'm going to have to miss some of the experiences.
And you are right in the sense of like a daunting experience, because that's like Bethesda games are time sinks. So by missing that, like, you're to get into it, maybe with a 4-month-old, that might not be the best call. However, I'm awaiting November 10th so I can pick up Fallout 4, even though I'll have like a 3-month-old at the time. But that's another game where, within the first hour or two, you have an idea of the environment you're in. You've done the rudimentary exploration of that aesthetic. It also comes down to how much do you really want to do the multiplayer type game, and what style of gaming you're interested in. And there's some games that are more like time sensitive, like with multiplayer, and there's other ones that can sit for a bit. It just depends on which type you want to fill up your backlog, because they both will. And usually the time sensitive multiplayer stuff, like Battlefront or Rocket League, they will usurp the ones that are more single player based. But those single player based ones often take a little bit more time to really sink your teeth into. So it's a seesaw.
I can relate to Trevor with Skyrim. So I never played Skyrim when it came out. I bought it on discount for PS3, just because I had a console.
Yeah.
And I got into a little bit of it, but I also find with technology that's advanced, any door you went into, it had to load,
Hmm.
like on the PS3, right? So I don't know
Yeah.
on PC, it's probably lightning quick, but I could not do it.
Yeah.
Because you have to go into so many things in the cities and explore everything and get the story. It just broke it for me. So I find if you do wait too long, there's almost technology that goes against you. Where now if I in Dragon Age, you can walk in and out no problem unless you enter a new area.
But in that same note, with Skyrim, playing it on the PC now, because I played it on the 360 and then I played it again on the PC because that was before I had a kid and I apparently didn't want to spend my time doing anything else. So with that, I found the PC, because it had been so long since its release, that the load times were almost non-existent.
Yeah, I could see that. And it's been modded out,
So
right?
then, because of that length of time, the technology has become so just, you know, overpowered in comparison to the needs of the software, that standard hardware will handle it and it'll just load up like you're playing, you know, the original Deus Ex, where it's just like boom, okay, a giant square kilometer environment just popped into view immediately, because it's like 18 boxes. Um, so yeah, I find that sometimes the duration of time that your backlog allots for really allows you to get the mileage out of those games, and you can play them with like max settings on something relatively modest. I know when I go to play Darksiders, I'll be able to crank everything to 11 and enjoy it. And my second playthrough of Skyrim, that was when I loaded it up and hit, oh, just select whatever settings you think my computer can run, and I don't really have like a really super computer, but it was like, oh yeah, you can play on Ultimate. I'm like, oh, all right, awesome. So you get to experience something more so than maybe what you have at the time of its release would allow you to. But one quick note about backlogs too, I meant to mention earlier, is one of the things that I find helps me from allowing mine to grow too quickly is whenever there's a Steam sale. This is where my willpower kicks in. Is I'll go and pick up a like a Steam Wallet card, and I'm like, okay, this is my budget for the Steam sale. So I don't use a credit card, so I don't
Right.
allow my Steam purchases to exceed a lot. And what's funny is sometimes like I'll have like 874 left on the card, and I'll try to find a combination of games that use up.
You're describing an addiction. It's great. It's just like, I need it.
Okay,
That's
so
a
if I
good way
apply this
though.
coupon code here and then I
Yeah.
trade this for this, it'll be like 74 cents and I can grab that guy instead.
Yep.
And I'll
Yep.
get the skin pack. I don't really need it, but totally can get it.
But it fits in perfectly.
It does.
Yeah, there's been times where like I've had 1 cent left in my wallet. I've gotten so close to zeroing it.
When in
Another,
truth, you're just watching for the 1 cent game. Like, come on,
yeah.
somebody's gonna sell like a boot DLC
Yeah.
for like.
Oh.
No,
I,
it's just funny. I think it's like a certain. Yeah, I think there's a bit of willpower. I guess like in buying things, it's a different way to. It's now in fatherhood. It's a different way to think about how you acquire games and then
Yeah.
how you approach them when it comes time to actually play through those ones. And it's probably now just and something that I'm kind of learning is when picking things up is this real, I don't want to say timeless. I don't want to give them like it has to be this beautiful, amazing experience, but is this when I play this thing and if I get to it in 2 years, will I really enjoy the experience still?
Hmm.
If it sits there for a bit, if I play, do I really want to play this game from both from a time constraint? Is it really that great? And as I kind of mentioned on a previous podcast, as far as when I was playing Assassin's Creed 2, getting to a point and like
yeah.
felt good, felt satiated. The next bits are kind of a grind. I don't really feel like it. Full stop. Just abort. Like get out of it. And it's just a whole. It's a maturing and an education. I think now at this point, as far as what it means to acquire games and what it means to actually play them. Like go back and play them because it's our context for playing a video game is just flipped on its head.
Yeah. Well, we get to know our taste, and it's like we don't uh, certain vices that we like to indulge in um, become more streamlined in regards to that indulgence. You know, it's a very dad thing to, rather than like, oh, well, I'll just get the cheapest pint of beer I can find. It's like, well, no, I finally have an opportunity to sit down and have a pint of beer. I'm going to have a nice one. I'm not going to go full college student and just get any old pint of swill. So I think the
They put
same goes
lime
with
in this beer? That sounds
Oh.
that.
delicious.
Sounds awesome. Beer Garita, sign me up. Um, so I think what ends up happening is with gaming is it's your taste and like even if the game is of a high pedigree, it's like yeah, but it's just not my cup of tea. Like I know from my experience before having a kid that anytime I've played these games, I've usually wound up either just being fatigued by it or just disinterested. And so not to bother, and you just let those games rest. Like I know myself, Dragon Age Inquisition just it doesn't tickle my fancy. I know it's a quality game. I know people really like it, but I'm probably never going to play it, and I'm fine with that. Just because it's the style of gameplay that I'm like, yeah, you know what? As far as fantasy RPG goes, it's a little too heavy with this, not enough of that. Uh, but that's just my taste, and I know my taste now. So it's like, okay, well, why bother adding that to the queue of games that I already know I'm probably not going to get around to? It's like if I'm going to build up a backlog, it might as well be a backlog of the top shelf stuff in regards to its relationship to what I enjoy doing with my spare time. But
Yeah, so
Well
yeah, I
said.
think it's yeah, I think it's education, learning, and I think it's conscious thought. Like honestly, as far
Yeah.
as at this like, welcome to fatherhood. You now have a baby,
yep.
and you need to think about this. Not in a way of reprimand, like not reprimanding people is like, well, you have children now. You got to think about it. It's just much more like, look, brother, you only got so you only got so much
It's the
time in a day.
time, right? It's the
Yeah.
time. Like, let's say you put Battlefront off for 2 years and then went back to it. Like, you would go back to a multiplayer experience that has crazy experts running around killing everybody. And
Yeah.
you really have to think, do I want to put the time in at that point to learn the game and get competitive at it, right?
Yeah,
Whereas,
if anybody, I mean,
well, yeah, true.
2 years shelf life. Like the thought that they wouldn't have another version, or
There's like 8 hardcore people left on the server,
Yeah, that's it.
and they're in this like sniper Mexican standoff style on either end of the map, and that's it. There's just like 5 Darth Vaders and like 2 Luke Skywalkers and a Yoda. And they're all equally spaced around Hoth, and they're all
Yeah.
just staring at the center of the map, waiting for somebody to make the first move, and they've been at that for a year and a half.
Look, a noob.
So that's the future
yeah.
of
So
gaming.
But if you said the same thing for like a single player, so let's
Yeah.
Bioshock, you would get all the DLC for cheap, you would get the game for cheap, and then you could
hmm
put it off and go into like the complete experience and play it, right? And get a sense of that world. So
Play
I
like the
would,
remastered edition.
yeah, like double
Yeah.
remaster,
Yeah.
super edition.
4K edition.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, that's a really
yeah,
good point about allowing, like, waiting for things to, I guess, become cheap. Um, and if anything, that's kind of the reason why these backlogs exist. We don't have these backlogs by buying things at full launch
No,
price.
yeah, no.
We have these backlogs because it's like, yeah, I'd pay that for it. Um, and I think that could be kind of part of it as well. Is that like I know back when I was first starting off with my art career, you don't really have a lot of extra scratch for video games, and a lot of it was like, oh yeah, no, This sounds like a great game, but like I'm gonna wait for it to popularity to die down enough for its price to get more to something within my budget.
Yeah.
And but then or back with the 360, just rifling through used game bins and being like, oh cool, that's 2 for 10. All right. And
Tony Hawk Pro
Gavin
Skater
Drew.
5 for 10 cents.
yeah.
Take it.
Oh, I love
What
that
have I
too. And
done?
because that's the thing is the backlog isn't just a digital distribution issue. It's also like a used game issue. And I'm not sure if we're going to see that as much in this generation. It hasn't been far enough along in this generation for a library to build up for the used game market to be saturated. But we are going to see a lot of copies of Tony Hawk 5. But I used to really enjoy seeing like these games that were like, oh, I remember hearing about how bad this was, and it's like $2, and like you kind of buy it. It's the same reason like you watch like a really bad B horror movie, like you know it's bad, like you know it's really bad, but you want to see the zipper on the monster, so you watch it. And I think that's the same thing with some bad games. And there's been some that I've grabbed where it's like, yeah, I'll pay $2 for this this Gong Show. Why not? I got nothing to do. I don't have a kid, so I would buy these games and play them. And I'm like, yeah, that was a horrible game. It was so buggy. It was so broken. Thank goodness it wasn't on my PC because it probably would have fried the GPU. And yeah, but now obviously that's one indulgence that has gone by the wayside in regards to games. Cinema, however, I still watch B movies. She's just, asleep in my arms when I'm doing it. So. All right, sweetie, you're gonna learn about Toxic Avenger.
Oh boy, the Toxic Avenger of video games.
Yep.
Waiting to hand out that title.
Oh, I think Tony Hawk's getting it.
Yeah.
I'm voting that this year.
I don't know. I think Tony Hawk's a little bit too cynical to ever achieve that.
I know.
Toxic Avenger's at least charming and like
it
almost well-meaning.
Yeah, they mean well, and it was made with heart. Not much budget, but lots of heart.
Lots of love.
Oh.
Beautiful. Well, I think, gentlemen, on that, I think that's a pretty good bow on that. Some interesting thoughts on it. And yeah, welcome to fatherhood. Watch what you buy.
Yeah. Just in general.
Yeah, that's not even just gaming advice. That's just life advice at this point.
Chainsaw around the house? Not a good idea. Not a good.
Pontiac Sunfire. Damn it! But it was so cheap.
So good.
Poor Sunfire.
Oh.
All right, everyone.
The Studebaker of the '90s.
Yeah, really, really off topic. But I heard I read a couple articles where the Aztec was making a bit of a comeback thanks to Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad, yeah, I could totally see it. The classic.
What is ultimately like reviled as one of the worst looking cars ever built starts to make this massive comeback because everyone saw it on the show. It's like, hey, that's the one from Breaking Bad. I totally want an Aztec now.
Well, I think the DeLorean would have made a comeback too if they hadn't have taken all the molds for the car and used them as fishing weights off the coast of Ireland. Which is, I'm not lying.
Really?
That's what happened. Yeah, they were looking for the original die-cast because like the car itself is made of stainless steel.
Yeah.
So they had these like molds, these like cast molds that were just dead weight. And when the company went bankrupt back in the 80s, they didn't know what to do with them. So this like fishing village in Ireland, or like a fishing company, like they just bought a bunch of them because they were heavy and there was a lot of like good loops and stuff you could tie ropes to, and they were being used as fishing weights.
Why not recycle? That's
exactly.
Great.
Unless I've been lied to.
Uh-oh.
In which case,
internet fact check.
Yeah. I just want to apologize in advance because I know there's gonna be somebody on the internet who's gonna fact check that.
Yeah.
And if it is wrong, I just want to lessen the wrath. I will admit that there are times where I am wrong. So
we'll get angry letters. It's like, Gavin, I traveled all the way to Ireland and I scuba dived all over the place, and I didn't see a single DeLorean. I'm really angry.
DeLorean. Where's my DeLorean?
Just to finish the story, you have to finish the story. So did they pull it up and proceed to start making new DeLoreans, or was it
I don't know.
Destroyed at that point?
Yeah, I think they were just like, okay, there they are. Carry on. Like, I don't think there was any. I don't know. I want to look into the story again because it's been a while since I was reading it. But it just
seems like if they can make
a of this kind of story I heard that I thought was real. I'm hoping it's real. I'm starting to doubt it now. It sounds too awesome to be true. Thanks,
Next
guys.
podcast, you're gonna have to let us in. You're gonna have to find the answer.
I will. I'll have to go do some recon and come back. So hold off on internet on proving me wrong. I might do it myself.
No, let us know in the comments. Let us know.
Yeah, thanks.
Will
That's
Gavin
it.
discover the truth of the DeLoreans in Ireland? Stay tuned,
Hey, that's
folks.
pretty good. I like that. Yeah.
We're gonna have a big splash of just like next week.
Old-timey call for trolls. It's going to be great.
Wonderful. And on that wonderful note, we will wrap up for this week. As always, folks, we do this show every week. If you have any question, comments, or suggestions, please reach out to us on the website, newdadgaming.com. Yeah, we'll try to stay more on topic, but no, that was a good job. That is some legitimate thinking points. I think I'll gonna come back to when I have to buy something next, or if I'm looking to buy a DeLorean. Yeah. One or the other. So thanks for tuning in, everybody. Until next week, I'm Trevor, and I have a 4-month-old.
I'm Gavin. I have a 2-month-old.
I'm Jeff, 2.5, and a 5-year-old.
Wonderful. Thanks, guys. See you next week.
See ya.